Welcome everyone. We have another edition of the Bagland Podcast. Getting the theme music together. We are live on the Bagland Podcast. This is Bagland DP, where we discuss politics, tech, and tangibles. And I'm going to cut to the theme music. We're going to get right to it. I usually let the theme music play, but we're going to get right to it. Now, you watched the debate, Solomon. I'm sure you can hear me loud and clear. I admit, I was very impressed. They kept it very presidential and professional. There was no low blows, really. No one was calling each other names. They really stuck to policy.
Yeah.
That was politics. Now, I took a bunch of notes. You know me, I'm a big note taker. And I took a bunch of notes. I didn't watch all of it, but the piece that I watched was, I think maybe I might have missed 15 minutes. Vance was coming in saying they were talking about the immigration, and he was mentioning, like, he said those 25 illegal immigrants in the United States. I thought that was insane. But he asked him, he said, well, and there's just been this 300,000 missing children thing, which I do believe these children are being used for trafficking and mules and everything else. They're unaccounted for. And Tim didn't really have nothing to say. I noticed also that Vance said, Kamala doesn't really want to help. He says, Tim, I think you want to help, but Kamala doesn't want to help. But I agree. She's one of the main reasons of bringing all these folks in here. They're literally breaking laws to bring in, they damn near acting like the Republicans down. They're literally just on TV, on the news, just pretty much saying, hey, we're going to violate the Constitution. We're going to break American laws and just say we just going to flood these folks in here. I've never seen nothing like this in my life, bro. Help me understand. I don't get it.
Well, see, the thing is that these guys are going to bring in fentanyl and drugs with them. We see, the thing is this: the Democratic Party wants to win the election, so they will go to any means necessary. And the fact that they have the House and the Senate is why they're able to do this. They're literally, and this is what I want your listeners to understand: they're literally bringing people to America so they'll vote Democrat, giving them license and giving them American citizenships without having to pass the protocol to get any of it. Just so they'll vote Democrats. So that is new extra voters. So the Democrats, which they're probably going to win by a very small margin, like they won the last election, because they're gimmicks. So if you take all these immigrants that they brought here out, they would have got mopped. You know what I mean? Same thing with the COVID gimmick they did 4 years ago. They would have got mocked because they barely won cheating. Which goes to tell you they would have lost.
So they're going to cheat again. I've never seen. They're literally admitting that they're cheating in so many words. Yeah. They're literally admitting that they're cheating. They're basically saying, look, man, we can't beat you fair and square. So what we're going to do is, okay, we know the black vote is, a lot of black folks are not excited about this at all. So they're like, okay, well, if we can't get the black vote,
the black vote is the reason for this.
You said what now?
The black vote is the reason for this.
The refusal to vote.
Black for Trump. All these different ghetto for Trump. All these different organizations I see that's dipping into their votes. So if everybody just voted on code, Democrats would win. Every election, if everybody just came and voted that needed to vote. That's why you always hear Democrats harp on go vote. You never hear Republicans say that. Never. You always hear Democrats say, make sure you go vote, because they know if everybody that's supposed to vote Democrat votes, it's a guaranteed win. But guess what happened here in these years? Obama, Biden, they lost their handle especially with the African American foundational black Americans that work like yourself, that make money. that are not needing a handout from the government. Anyone that you see that needs a handout from the government is going to vote Democrat. Bottom line. They can talk all the shit they want. At the end of the day, they're going to vote Democrat because Republicans, threaten their Social Security packages or their SSI or their government checks. So that's you got to take them out of the picture. But then you have the foundational blacks that work, that make money, that are not needing the government for shit. Those people, the influential foundational blacks, they're done with Democrats.
I want to vote. I want to play something for you. Now, this was very, very telling. Now, you probably heard about Janet Jackson, right? Now, Janet Jackson, she's done a lot of for black folks, man. They put a lot. The Jacksons have done more than what people are willing to admit. They done did a lot of stuff for black folks over the years. And Janet, I guess they asked Janet. Janet doesn't usually say anything. And Janet, they were asking Janet about Harris, and Janet basically said, "I heard she ain't black." And then I guess some newscaster or one of her people, it was somebody put out an unauthorized apology. And they probably thought, Janet was, she's real soft-spoken. She was going to walk it back. And Janet stood on business. She meant what she said. She said, "I didn't authorize that apology." And some news editor or somebody in the mainstream media got fired because they tried to say that she apologized. And she was like, "Hell no." And I want to play something for you that really blew my mind. And I think when people seen this really started making folks looking funny style at Harris. Already.
That
listen to
could
this.
mean life in prison, and cases like this can depend on the testimony of the child accuser.
In general, the child will be able to recall and recollect with some detail the incident, and that is persuasive to a jury.
Now, you heard who that is, right? This was back when Kamala was the DA. And this clip right here I'm playing you is showing Jackson when they were saying, well, Jackson was doing stuff to the kids or whatever. Now, this is what really, really rubbed black folks the wrong way right here. And I think this is the reason why Janet said what she said. Because she really felt a certain way about how Harris and them try to railroad her brother.
The incident, and that is persuasive to a jury, even if it is the only testimony that is available.
Jackson gave a wave when he was released after booking. He's scheduled for arraignment in January.
Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Michael's been a long-time resident of Trump Tower, and last night the Donald strongly reiterated his defense of Jackson with Larry King by going after the accuser's mother.
She's had plenty of experience at going after people, and she goes after them viciously and violently, and I saw a story and I read another story about some of the things she's done. And I don't believe it.
But you know what it's like when an indictment comes down.
It's tough.
It's presumption.
It's tough. It's tough to win. But I have a feeling he's going to win, Larry. The interesting thing is I've known Michael from many different standpoints. And Michael would spend a lot of time with my kids. I have beautiful kids. And at the time, like at Mar-a-Lago, and even in Trump Tower, the kids were very young. Michael would come, play with the kids. He just loved children. He was not a child molester. And I am certain of that. He loved children. He'd play with my son Eric and my son Donald, and he'd just play with them forever. He loved children, but he was not a child molester. And, that whole final saga of Neverland and the police and what they did was, I think, a very, very bad part of Michael's life.
Now, Janet just lost her brother. Which was the brother that gets passed?
Tito.
It was Tito?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, so you got D.L. Hughley's punk ass. That nigga was talking real slick about her. You see what I'm saying? People online was really getting on his ass. Folks just start telling the truth. A lot of black Americans was like, you said what now?
Did you hear what I just heard?
What'd you hear?
Everybody that's related to Michael Jackson, all these super fanatic Michael Jackson fans that got him tattooed on their body and then fainted at his concerts, better run to the fucking polls and vote for Donald Trump. What that man just said right there, he rode for Michael Jackson in a way I heard nobody stand for him that was white.
That is
true. Did you hear that? Do you want to hear that again? Do y'all want to hear that again?
Yeah, let's play it again. Let's play it again.
That could mean
Thing is, and I don't viciously and violently
Jackson with Larry King by going after the accuser's mother.
She's had plenty of experience at going after people, and she goes after them viciously and violently. And I saw a story and I read another story about some of the things she's done, and I don't believe it.
But you know what it's like when an indictment comes down.
It's tough.
It's presumption.
It's tough. It's tough to win, but I have a feeling he's going to win, Larry. The interesting thing is I've known Michael from many different standpoints.
You know, I've never really paid attention to this audio. I guess it's been around, but I guess, I don't know.
Clarence from right there.
And Michael would spend a lot of time with my kids. I have beautiful kids, and at the time, like at Mar-a-Lago, and even in Trump Tower, the kids were very young. Michael would come, play with the kids. He just loved children. He was not a child molester, and I am certain of that. He loved children. He'd play with my son Eric and my son Donald, and he'd just play with them forever.
Wait a minute, he said Eric and Donald, so that means when they were real young.
That man rode Janet Jackson, to be honest with you. I think she was trying to help Trump by saying that. He should be. I mean, especially Michael Jackson's brothers and sisters that are alive, his kids. I'd be at Trump's next rally for a poster. Riding. Man just rode for Michael Jackson. Like I heard no white man, ever since them accusations came out, I heard no white, except the Home Alone kid, Macaulay Culkin. That's the only white person I heard stand for Michael Jackson.
Oh, and let's listen to this. I want y'all to hear this. By the way, you got to think. Janet really felt a certain way about how Harris, because she remembers. See, we forgot Harris was part of that. You heard her. She was at the very beginning of the clip. So Janet is probably looking like F. Harris. She ain't black. She ain't shit. You try to take my family down knowing it wasn't true. Now listen to this, what Michael was talking about Sony.
I've generated...
Sony, do y'all understand how much publishing Michael Jackson owned? And how many black folks he made sure when he bought that publishing? Sly and the Family Stone, all kind of folks that got ripped off for their publishing. A lot of people don't know how many black folks Michael Jackson helped out when he bought that publishing. He gave all them niggas they publishing back, bro. This was well before Diddy was giving his publishing back to all these other little people. You know, that was many, many decades after. But Jackson been doing that. And I also want to play something for you with James Brown in a minute. But just give me a second.
Several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind...
This is what probably got him killed right here.
$1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them. Now I'm a free agent. Yeah. I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. It's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago.
So he basically said, I'm giving y'all some old shit. You know, you ain't getting none of my new stuff in the vault. I'm just going to give you some BS. I'm going to give you some stuff that I really don't want. So that really got them hot, too.
So I'm leaving Sony, a free agent, owning half of Sony.
Oh, that did it right there.
I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. The way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. And Tommy Mottola...
He's talking about Invincible, 2001, which Floetry had helped write.
Is a devil.
You heard what he called? He called Tommy Mottola a devil.
Yeah, that's Mariah Carey's ex-husband.
Oh, he's gonna get into that too. See, he was shaming the devil on this one. Oh, he was calling these white supremacists out. He was calling them out by name.
They don't care about us.
They don't care about us. He was talking about them too. You know, he was getting so powerful. I'm gonna be honest. He was more powerful than Bill Cosby at one point. You know, Cosby tried to buy NBC.
Yeah.
But you own 50% of Sony, the Beatles. They was sick to their stomach. They're like, man, and they couldn't. They were trying to figure out, like, damn, we need this back. They said, okay. let's just make up some stuff. He took some kids. There was nothing else they could do besides taking him out. What else could they do? You literally.
He was using poor judgment, having sleepovers too with kids.
That wasn't a good idea. I don't think that was a good idea. You know,
you got to think though. I mean, you know, people that knew him and followed his career knew he wasn't doing nothing like that. But if you really didn't fuck with him and you heard, man, this guy has sleepovers with kids and he's weird, ain't nobody ever seen him with no woman, and that, I mean, I can understand people thinking like that too.
Well, when I first heard about it, you know, we were younger. I was kind of like, damn, Mike, what's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I been DNA at a certain point. Well, now, even if I was one of them people who felt that way, I would have dropped it because there's no DNA.
Yeah, I mean, they had no evidence, and then eventually later, when these so-called kids got older, whatever, their story was all shaky. That was after they died, which actually, I think the family should have got on the media's ass about that because they had a flaky situation, like most of those women in that whole Cosby situation. Now here he is with Al Sharpton. I'm gonna play a little more of this, and then we're gonna get back to some of the other things I want to cover.
I'm not supposed to say what I'm going to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it.
Mariah Carey, after divorcing Tommy, came to me crying. She said to me that this is an evil man. And, Michael, this man follows me, she said. He taps her phones. And he's very, very evil, and she doesn't trust him. And he is a horrible human being. And we have to continue our drive until he's terminated. We can't allow him to do this to great artistry. We just can't.
Yeah, that's what did it. Here's another one. Let me see. Now this one's he's in the National Action Network headquarters with Al Sharpton. Let me see if I could get. I've never seen this before. This was 13 years ago, but I think it's a speech.
We want the people respected and the stars that we make stars to shine in the galaxy for us. We were already off the wall, and we coming off our seats to stand up for justice in the music industry.
Now this looked like this was in the 90s because Al Sharpton's perm is sitting up tight. You know, he's a little heavier then. Let me see if I could. Let me see what Michael got to say. Yeah, he was much younger.
Because
justice in the music industry.
This is very important because throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have
That's
to...
what I respect about Michael. He never cooned. He never tap danced, bro. He was proud to be a black American.
Incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Yes. Now let me say this.
Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Into this way, and whoever else, artists that are on their label that are being sucks! Sony sucks! Sony sucks! I want to hear the guys in the back.
Now that was grassroots. See, that's when you know the people love you. These were folks that was out there. It remind me of the Locks. When they said, you know, let the Locks go and stuff, you had people out in the street from Michael like, man, you know, Sony's on some BS. So that's one of the things that I want to talk about in that regard. Now, just real quick here, I'm getting some of my little paperwork together. Wait a minute, hold on. And we'll get back into that in a second. I noticed that, you still there?
Yep.
I noticed one thing that happened, and I wasn't surprised. Vance and Tim were sidestepping who really be doing the school shootings, which is these young white boys, these young white supremacists. Just like the Buffalo shooting when they shot all them black folks, they never really wanted to talk about that. This guy had ties to the feds. He had some connections to the feds somehow, so they kind of, you know, that whole little thing, man, was real funny style. It was real funny style. And they kept talking about, well, gun violence, what we going to do about gun violence and school shootings. The issue with gun violence and school shootings is young race soldiers. Point blank, bottom line. You're not really having issues with young black folks running up in schools shooting each other. If there's a shooting at a black school, that's usually a target. You'll have a dude that has an issue with another dude and they just go ahead and shoot it out. There might be somebody that gets shot in the process, but look at this school shooting that they just happened. They said that he was down in Georgia. They don't talk about that anymore. If you notice that, it was just a couple weeks ago. All them black kids got shot down in Georgia by that white kid. These are young white kids doing this stuff. And they never used the term race in it. They kept talking about gun violence. Now, Vance and Tim were talking about manufacturing. It should be back in the U.S. Yes, it should. And I'm thinking Savannah, Georgia, Ohio, Gary, Indiana, Detroit, all of these Rust Belt steel cities, that manufacturing should not go to China. That should be right here. You know me, man. I'm a citizens first person. I don't think you should be taking in and just flooding the gates with folks that ain't from here, and then you basically tell the veterans and the people that's been here for over 50 years to go to hell. You know, I think that needs to stop. Now, one thing I noticed, Vance says something about censorship. You know, I'm not against censorship. I don't think you should just go off the rails. But see, remember, they tried to do that to me. Do you remember the time I always tell my listeners, I said, hey, remember when I was basically saying, hey, you know, remember when the Department of Health came out and said, all right, the lab leak. They took down one of my broadcasts. Oh, it's misinformation, censorship. It's misinformation. Okay, so now you're censoring Bagland. If you have censorship, that means DP can't say what he's going to say. That means you got to take down my programs for you know, something that I say. Oh, it's misinformation. Oh, it's against the CDC, blah, 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 blah. Misinformation. Vance was right about that. Harris, Joe, all of them were on this whole BS misinformation campaign thing. If you're pointing out anything that some of the whistleblowers or something is saying, oh, it's misinformation. Oh, let's strike them from YouTube. They rallied off an entire misinformation campaign, and then now the facts came out. I actually think they should be sued. I think they should be brought up in charges for the constitutional rights, sedition against the United States for doing that. Yeah. I do. I think they should be impeached. I think they should be impeached for pulling that. You know, but you know, I do agree where they were talking about one thing Tim was saying, well, we don't have the workforce in Minnesota. I'm sure you heard him say that. Hire from foundationals. See, he wants to bring in a bunch of legals too. He kept kind of pounding on Kamala. No, you're part of this too, Tim. And another thing what really hurt him was this military record. He really didn't give a good answer as to why he pulled out the military. That didn't look good at all. Because I thought he was going to kind of come back swinging on that, like, hey, you know, my military record, and I'm like, man, Tim, that was a hard one. Because
he left military a little earlier than he said.
Yeah, so the thing is did you go yellow belly?
And it looked like he left before it was time to really go to combat. And that's what some of the guys that was in his platoon was saying.
Man, that's not a good. You can't call yourself a soldier if you turn yellow belly.
Well, you heard what he said to the debater. He said that was his mistake. He misspoke, and he learned from that. He's just saying he got the dates wrong.
He got the dates wrong?
Yeah, but he's not saying the truth, which is he left. Okay, so when you're in the military for a certain amount of time, you can just leave, right, on your own, regardless. What he did is he left before they went to combat because he had enough time. So he wasn't really in China like that. He left China when the fighting started, and that's what his platoon mates were saying. And That's what the debater was asking him. When your dates ain't adding up? And he was like, well, yeah, I left on this day. He never said I left the platoon before a war. He just said I gave the wrong dates on when I left. You could see the debater didn't push him on that subject. He should have.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too.
But they can't. The Trump party can't bring that up because Trump bought his way out of war.
So he just didn't go.
No, he had money. You can do this anywhere. You got money, even in Eritrea where they have mandatory service. If you got enough money, you could pay a doctor to say, well, he's fucked up. He can't go. You were able to do that during the war, during the draft as well. Yeah, so if you got enough money, you got a personal doctor, and you say, hey, man, I'm going to throw you about 25 bands. All I need you to do is just say that I got a fucked up back and I don't need to be in war. Boom, out of it. War dodger, which is what Trump is. So they can't really harp on Walz's record because at least he was in service for a great number of years. Trump was a war dodger. Vance, J.D. Vance, when he was trying to get the Republican nominee, he's the one who said it.
He said that he was a dodger?
Yeah, he said this guy paid his way to get out of war. J.D. Vance was the biggest critic. He was a critic of Trump even after he lost the Democratic or Republican nominee and Trump won the election. He was still talking shit. Put it like this: J.D. Vance talked shit about Trump the whole 4 years Trump was in office. He talked shit about Trump until Trump chose him.
Oh, that's not good.
J.D. Vance was the most critical Republican of Donald Trump.
I don't think Donald was thinking very well when he chose Vance. He could have chose anybody better.
I need to get a young guy who can speak because that's what they got over him. That's what the Republicans are thinking. Kamala and them, they got that. They got the rappers. They got, Walz. He got the mouthpiece on him. Walz would have chopped up Mike Pence. You know what I mean? He'd have chopped him up, the old vice president. They needed a young guy who can talk, who can kind of speak a little bit. I bet you they wouldn't even have a conversation. Trump probably didn't even pick him. They just told him who to pick. Pick him. He's young and he can talk. Oh, okay. And he's good with the hillbillies. Or he was at one time. He wrote a book about them.
Yeah, the hillbillies were not very happy about it. The hillbilly, they said Vance was a fake hillbilly. I think a couple shows ago, I think I was talking about that. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of my maybe last two episodes.
That's why. What did he say in the beginning of that debate? I grew up on welfare. My mom was a drug addict. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna relate to the poor motherfuckers. He's from Ohio. He wrote a book about hillbillies, and then it turned into a movie.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched the whole movie. Was
it good?
It was decent. It was okay. I mean, it basically the real hillbillies from Ohio, they're not feeling it. Some of them are not feeling it. They've been calling him out. They basically said that you ain't a real hillbilly and you're putting us in a negative light. You're making it seem like we just a bunch of fentanyl heads and some backwood buck teeth, hillbillies. That's how they feel. So a lot of them are. Put it like this: Vance is. You have some Vance folk. You have some people that they're typically they're Republican, conservative, but they not feeling them because they feel he's fake. The same way that most foundational blacks feel about Harris, that's how they feel about Vance. They just don't. It's not something that's talked publicly about too much. But they actually wrote an article. I read that article. They were not happy about that at all. They had a lot to say. There was people online. It's because, now, I mean, the internet's fake, but the internet has a voice. The internet now is the new news. The internet now is the new poll. So if you got people online that's getting on you, that actually means something because most of these young kids, they don't watch no damn TV.
Yeah, it backfired.
It backfired. Like right now, shout out to all my listeners now. I'm now at 400 subscribers. I'm at 400 subscribers now. Thanks to you guys. And people want to hear the real. And people want to hear, you know, people can criticize you. They can criticize you publicly. Even if you're not online, they can get in your comments. They can troll. They can do all this kind of stuff. But the thing is numbers don't lie. Metrics don't really lie all the time. People could pull up something you said, and that's really what's happening to Harris right now. That's why she needs Tim. She ought to just step down and let him run the show, because there's too many holes in your armor. There's too much stuff that people are finding out about you, and then when they start asking questions, like they asked Harris the other day. She said something about, oh, the 1/8 rule. And the brother had to correct her real quick, like, you mean one drop? See, these are the kind of things that if you a black American woman, if your heritage is based off of your great grandmother and grandpa that done picked cotton, that then came from Tennessee, Mississippi, or whatever, we don't got to correct you on the one drop rule, because you already know it. You don't have to say nothing about crazy about collard greens. You don't have to say nothing about $5. You don't have to say anything specific where it sounds weird, where you're like, okay, why? Where are you from? Where's your people from? Because black women from the soil don't sound like that. We don't remember nobody acting or sounding like that. You're really uncomfortable when you talk. So that's how we know that you didn't come from our culture. So, you know, they're having a lot of trouble that way. And folks is kind of like, okay, well, no, we're not really rocking with you. You don't come from us. We don't, you know how they say, you know, real recognize real and you're unfamiliar. It's one of those kind of things, you know, and so that's the major problem that they're having. And it's not just the fact that she don't come from our culture. It's like, okay, it took you forever to get a policy together. The whole thing was, oh, well, it's new and oh, change is going to come. We were like, all right, we heard this from somewhere. This sounds like Barack. You see what I'm saying? We've heard this before. So we're like, all right, what else you got, Harris? We know you ain't black. We know that. We know you got a shitty policy. And then they keep trying to give her curveballs. Like when she was on Oprah, Oprah was looking like, oh my gosh, nigga, I'm trying to help you, nigga. Like she was kind of looking like, okay, this ain't going well. If you've seen the look on Oprah's face, she was just like, okay, I don't know if is she drunk or something or whatever, because this is not going good at all. It's not. You know, we just gave you the platform. All she had to do was take it and run with it. You see Donald messing up. Donald's just stumbling. He got Vance out here. He's talking shit. You know, you can win this. What are you doing?
It's all smoke and mirrors.
You know,
first of all, Donald, you gotta understand, he's had 2 assassination attempts on his life.
So he don't give a damn.
Well, I mean, he's got to ease up a little bit on the rhetoric. That's what, you know, his advisors, and I'm sure his family have told him, you're going to have to ease up a little bit on the name calling. You see motherfuckers is trying to kill you.
You know what I would have did if I was him? I would have been like, look, economy. I would have told him to just hammer down on that economy, say, hey, yeah, you know, it was cheaper when I was in, blah, blah, blah. Even if it ain't true. Economy, hey, let's all come together. Let's work things out. Let's cut a deal. I'd say that in every rally. If I was him, I'd say that in every single rally. Hey, let's come together.
He's just not swinging the same mud he was. Because, you know, the thing is with Harris, Kamala Harris is all smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? Same thing Obama was. If you sit and talk to these motherfuckers, man, they couldn't talk to you for 5 seconds.
No, they couldn't.
You know what I mean? They couldn't sit down and talk to you about nothing that's going on in anybody's life. They don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean? Obama didn't grow up poor. He might not have knew his mom and his grandma and them, but they had living in Hawaii. You either got money or you don't. there ain't no middle ground in places like that because everything's very expensive. So he grew up with a few dollars. He went to where Harvard. There ain't too many poor motherfuckers from the ghetto going to Harvard. You know, there's a couple, but not that many. And if they ain't playing ball, it's even less.
Yeah, very few.
So, yeah, so when it comes down to it's all smoke and mirrors. It's if there's somebody that, okay, we want to push our white agenda, but we're getting to a point where it's getting obvious. So let's get a black face to push our agenda for us, and they'll be able to prance around and say they were the president. Kamala Harris had the lowest from all the Democratic nominees 4 years ago. She had the lowest number, the lowest percentage. She became vice president because she's a person of color, perceived to be black, and she's not a bad-looking woman. Okay, let's pick her.
They didn't want to, but they had to.
She had no credentials to be the vice president. No one saw her for 4 years.
Right.
You didn't see her. She wasn't up and about sticking her chest out. She was in the background doing nothing because they try to make Kamala Harris avoid live conversations with people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because she gets exposed because she's just a white girl that don't even like niggas. Don't, you know what I mean? Has a different perception. By her position being a prosecutor, you go to school to be that.
Right.
I want to lock people up. I want to lock black people up. That's not something people that identify with. How many black prosecutors do you see that ain't coons all over America? Probably 5%.
Yeah,
that really just want to get the bad guys, the real bad guys. No, some people just want to lock up niggas.
Yeah, you got most of them, the judges, the prosecutors. Like, there's very, very few that's solid. Like that brother down there. Shout out to that brother down in there. And was that Louisville? Was that Louisville, Kentucky, that Breonna Taylor was assassinated? Okay, yeah. Now they had this judge down there, and he looked out for the brother that popped back at them police. See, when they killed Breonna, the police start running around to all these post offices. I mean, they was doing some real foul stuff. Professor Black Truth did a really, really good expose on that some years ago. It went over a lot of people's heads. The police were going to the post offices saying, well, yeah, they, you know, can you get somebody to say that they were sending drugs at this house and this, that, and the third. And, you know, the post office was like, hell no. We not about to do that. What the hell? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they wouldn't deal with those police. Huh?
That's federal.
Yeah, they was doing all kind of stuff. So they were figuring out some kind of way to try to make Breonna Taylor looked like she was doing something wrong, which she wasn't. She was naked when she was killed. This was a complete, total assassination. Them cops should be on death row right now. And so, one of the main prosecutors down there, he was a major, major coon. You know who I'm talking about. Actually, I think he was involved with Mitch McConnell's daughter or granddaughter or something like that, I think. But he was Cameron something.
Like that shit. I know you're talking about.
Oh, this nigga was a major Sambo. And so there was a brother down there that was a judge. I forgot his name. But they was messing with him real bad. The race soldiers was pissed at him because what he did was, you know, the brother that shot back at the law trying to defend Breonna, they tried to charge him with murder or charge him with something, and the black judge said, oh, no, we ain't doing that. So, I can't forget, I forgot his name. He's a writer. I can't remember that brother's name, but he's a judge. And he basically was like, okay, no, we not going to railroad this nigga like that. So he stayed on super code. That's not a common thing. Oh yeah, they was messing with him. They tried to suspend him and all kind of stuff. I can't remember the brother's name, but that shout out to that brother.
The whole Breonna Taylor thing was one big cover up.
Oh, it was a huge cover up.
If you took 100 black foundational black prosecutors, probably 10 of them wouldn't be coons.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
10%.
when you see somebody like Kamala Harris, you know, it's people get caught up in, we're going to vote for the first black woman, and we're going to vote for a woman. It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at the actual, like I said, all these debates are now, it's the corporate world. It's the same thing as a smack battle rap.
Right. Yeah.
It's not about what they're saying. It's about how they're saying it. If you're going to watch a debate, but you already know what their policies are, why are you watching it?
So it's like trolling.
Who can throw dozens better than the other one? You know what I mean? Because you already know their policy. You're not watching that to know what the fuck their policy is. Who spoke clearer and who had more... It's like a wine tasting contest. Who had more dexterity in what they were saying? Who caught the other one in a lie? Who was fumbling with their words? That's all you're watching it for. You're not watching it. There's no debate that your Democrats have one policy, Republicans have another. That hasn't changed in 100 million years.
We got 1 month.
Trump has 1 month. Shit, Kamala Harris is in the driver's seat. All she's got to do now is not fuck this up.
Now, how are they going to guarantee?
She needs to avoid any public, like, live interviews of people are asking her questions. Trump not wanting another debate was the best thing to happen to her.
Okay.
Because see, here's what your listeners need to peep. That's something no one's talking about. She had an earpiece in her ear, right? And this is a certain earpiece that someone could talk to you in it, right? And it was played off like an earring. Watch, go online. Your listeners, go Google it when you get a chance.
I think you could buy them.
What's that?
I think you could buy them little pearl microphone, little earring things.
Somebody was talking to her and telling her, certain when she, it's like being real quick with her. Say this, say that. Be calm. Make sure you're calm. Make sure you're calm. You know what I mean? Try to get him mad, and then that's all women can do. That all women know how to piss you off and then be calm. And make her, you know what I mean? Make her look like you crazy. And that's what she did to him. And he said, I don't want another debate because obviously, just like on this debate, the moderators don't want him to win either.
Oh, they were sticking.
Every news station called them fake news, fuck with their access to the White House. They don't want him to win. CNN definitely doesn't want him to win.
They would not hold her to any. I mean, you remember how many times we were discussing, like, she kept deflecting. They kept asking about immigration. Trump was like, okay, what about immigration? What about this? What about that? And every single time she deflected. And I'm like, okay, for you to be a damn prosecutor, you're not very good. It made me really wonder, did they just throw you in that damn position? Because you're not very smart.
She went to school to be a lawyer, right?
But she's not competent.
But the rise in the position came from sleeping with Willie Brown. That got her into the, really into it. You seen the clip where the lady asked her, "Are you his daughter?"
Yeah.
She was young back then. She was going with him. Why is she going with somebody 30 years older than her? To up her career.
Yeah.
Okay. Then from there, she goes to Montel Williams. Now she's in with the Hollywood and she's in with that people. Willie Brown is the reason she became the top prosecutor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just be another fucking person. You know what I mean? She wouldn't have been the top prosecutor. She got that from fucking Willie Brown.
And they groomed her up. Okay, go to this HBCU. Listen to a little Tupac. And she can't really, like I say, she can't.
No, she never listened to shit.
Or,
listen to shit. She just told you that.
But they played something for her probably. Because she don't know.
No, when Charlamagne asked her, her dates didn't even add up. She was saying, I was in college, I listened to Tupac and Snoop Dogg. And Snoop Dogg and them wasn't even out when she was in college. You know what I mean? She just threw some shit out there. Like she probably never really smoked no weed in her life. When she said, "Yeah, I smoke weed. My family's from Jamaica."
Basically a square.
She ain't never smoked with her family, and her dad don't even want nothing to do with her.
Yeah, he said that you're using Jamaican as a scapegoat and it's negative and all that. That was years ago.
He didn't like that comment she made. That was about 4 or 5 years ago when she made that on the Breakfast Club. He didn't like that shit, You got your family's dignified people here in Jamaica. Why are you talking about them like that? And you don't even know your family. They ain't never been out there visiting nobody. It's all smoke and mirrors. I would prefer Donald Trump if I had to really think about it now, just because he'd be real with you. This lady is a con artist. She has swept her way the Amber Rose slut walk. This is a benefactor of that.
And I want to play something for you real quick here. Let's open this up. But before we do,
what's about to be the president of the United States of America?
Oh man,
just think of that. What kind of confidence are these hoes going to have now?
Oh man, and check this out. Even her little bootlick tap dancing sambo campaigners to be online. It says black operatives. Now I got this from something called notice.org. Black operatives are furious over how Kamala Harris' campaign is spending money. Minority-owned firms are frustrated the campaign is relying on white-owned firms for spending, and they're worried that it could ultimately hurt the campaign with voters of color. Now, they're not worried about it going to hurt the campaign. They're worried that they didn't get paid.
Right.
Derek Johnson, and you know about this nigga, the president of the NAACP was frustrated after a call with Kamala Harris's campaign early last month. He and others on the call felt they hadn't gotten a clear answer to something that has mystified leaders in Congress, co-chairs of the campaigns, and donors. Why did it seem like minority-owned political firms that typically work with Democrat campaigns aren't getting as much of the record-breaking Harris campaign money as white-owned firms? Now, I can answer them that question. Because Harris realized y'all was some bootlicking Negroes. She knew what y'all signed up for. You just didn't get the memo and the message. See, they thought, oh, sister girl, different world, Phife Dawg, Tupac. They thought it was gonna be a sister girl thing, and then now when the money starts coming up, they like, nah, we just gonna pay these white folks to do it. So all that tap dancing and samboing and all that shucking and jiving, and y'all didn't even get the money. So now they're salty about that. They're like, well, damn, you know what I'm saying? But she told you that when they asked her, hey, listen, what do you think about getting reparations for black folks? She said, I ain't gonna do nothing for just black folks. No. See? She told you she wasn't gonna do anything for you. She let you know that. She wasn't just talking when she said that. She meant that. You could see how she bounced her head and she cut her eyes, and she said that like, I ain't giving you niggas SHIT nothing. And then you start hearing the jive turkey talk. Hey, Quavo, ain't that right, Quavo? You know what I'm saying? And they sitting there thinking like, well, damn, I'm not gonna get paid. No. She used y'all for the sister girl look. And look, when she gets in there, oh man, all them hood rats and all them LGBT Negroes and all them bootlicks, they gonna be sick to their stomach, because she's not gonna be sister girl no more come November 5th. It's gonna be red dots and curry. That's what's gonna happen. She gonna be talking real crazy to black folks. She might have her little Divine Nine, she'll have her little HBCU, mammies and plantation minions. She'll have a few of them around just to keep it looking a little black. But when it comes to the average black person that was talking about, the hot sauce and her collard greens and all that, yeah, you gonna start all this, Project 2025, you gonna start hearing stuff where you gonna be like, well, damn, you sound like Mitch McConnell now. Give it January when they swear her in. Mark my words. You gonna start seeing stuff like, well, damn, man, they done kick Section 8 off here. They done let these illegals in there. Yeah, black women ain't gonna have a chance.
You're gonna see a lot more foundationals that are homeless.
Yes.
She'll give up this sister girl act the day she wins.
The day she wins, that sister girl's going out the window.
One thing foundationals have to understand that I'm seeing from the outside perspective is, okay, you've seen the first debate, 45 seconds. they spoke about foundationals. Second debate, about 22 seconds. This debate, nothing. What's happening is by foundationals realizing, well, we can't vote Republican because they don't even like us. We can't vote Democrat because they ain't doing nothing right for us, so we'll vote couch. We'll just stay home. What's happening is, and then the Democrats have already supplemented that vote, which means, guess what? That little bit that we were catering to y'all, we ain't even doing that no more. Fuck y'all. So now, this is a time for foundational Black Americans to sit back during these 4 years and come with
a plan.
A plan and people who can negotiate. So if a Kamala Harris or a Donald Trump wakes up one day and says, I want to give reparations, who would they talk to? Nobody. So what would happen is they'd wake up and just determine the amount themselves. Let me ask you and your listener something. When the IRS calls you or a bill collector calls you and goes, you owe us $10,000, but whatever you give us, we'll squash the debt. Just give us whatever. All right, I'll give you $20. All right, debt squash. You can't do that. So it's very important that there is I don't care who it has to be, a committee or who, it doesn't matter who it is. There has to be someone to negotiate on behalf, because you can go through natives, LGBT, all South American countries, all African countries, all have representation. That's what those community centers I was telling you about. They're all over America.
Right, yeah.
Network.
And I'm going to give you credit for that.
Everyone except foundational Blacks. So like I said, if Donald Trump wakes up or Kamala wakes up and goes, it's time to give Blacks foundationals their reparations. Let's do it. Who do you negotiate with? During the George Floyd rioting, when they wanted it to stop right now, who was the Black American they could talk to that could call off all the dogs?
And that's something that folks didn't do here up in Minneapolis, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Go ahead.
You got to go back to that point, because that point I'm bringing up is the difference between foundational Blacks getting exactly what they deserve from white America, or getting what white America feels like giving y'all to shut it up. Because as soon as they start issuing reparation checks and every foundational gets $250, some bullshit, it's over. You feel what I'm saying? That conversation is over. So it's very important that there's people to negotiate with, a Judge Joe Brown, or there's some kind of caucus that's put together. We don't mean the Black Caucus, some kind of organization similar to that. Then they could negotiate on behalf of Blacks. Because if that was gays rioting during George Floyd, guess what? There's a gay you can talk to in every state that would have shut it all down if they'd have got what they wanted. Natives, Mexicans, Africans, if it was Eritreans all over America just turning up, they're mad about something. There's leaders in every state. Call arms. All right, they said we can, what's it going to take for y'all to stop rioting? Well, we want this, this, and this. All right, you got it. All right, call them off. You know, the Willie Lynch mentality, what it did is it created that scenario that I'm talking about now. You know? Because it's as simple as negotiation. That's all it is. Because at the end of the day, it's not about like or hate. Because look what they just did. Guess what? How about if I told you this? These are legal immigrants that are here and they're on their way. Guess what? They got representation.
Hispanic caucus.
They got somebody that's talking on their behalf. Well, we're going to need this and we're going to need that. That was a negotiation.
Hispanic caucus. And I want to remind people, and I say this all the time, if you look at the Hispanic caucus website, we could go to it tonight. I want all my listeners at the sound of my voice to consider going to the Hispanic caucus. Now, when you go to the Hispanic caucus, I'm not going to pull it up myself because I remember it. I could never forget it once I compared it to them bootlicking, tap dancing Negroes that's supposed to represent us. The Hispanic caucus specifically speaks in one small paragraph to the Hispanic demographic. Now, when you go over to the Negroes, the Congressional Black Caucus, they start talking about being afraid of Trump. They start talking about disenfranchised. They start talking about people of color, LGBT, everything. And you could actually look and you could pick out the word black maybe 2 to 3 times. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be the Congressional Black Caucus. A whole bunch of tap dancing niggas talking about immigration, which has nothing to do with foundational blacks. We're not immigrants, so it doesn't serve us. But the thing is, they're not even talking about bringing over other non-foundational blacks from other countries to work with us and get on code with us. They're not even talking about that. They talking about Trump. They talking about disenfranchised, all of these little stealth words, these Jedi mind trick words. That's all they talk about. And
they bullshit they've been doing for 40, 50, 70,
40
80
to 50
years.
years. And then now what the way they're rewarded is, you have, the Democrats will be like, all right, nigga, you like that Cadillac? You like that Rolls Royce? You like that nice house out there in the Hamptons? And they be sitting up there talking about, oh, well, we black and we for black folk and all this. And when you start asking them questions, they don't even mention reparations not once. So I'm telling y'all the difference between the Congressional Black Caucus website and the Hispanics website. Now, when you go on the Congressional Black Caucus website, what do they talk about? Oh, black and brown, black and brown. The Hispanic website doesn't say anything about black people. It does not say brown and. It says brown. That's it. And that's representation. And giving you credit, when I went on my man the Simba Ali show, I went on the Big Talk, and I printed out all the stuff and said, all right, all these community centers is representation here. This is one of the main issues, because you got to have some kind of some ideology behind it. And I printed that out.
All the talk of reparations, eliminate the conversations of what you're owed and this and that, and put all your effort towards what I'm talking about. There has to, if you don't have that, and then first of all, foundational blacks need to be kicking back and pushing back against these immigrants, because they're talking about 28 million immigrants coming here to America. Guess what? If that happens and Democrats win and that happens, you can kiss reparations goodbye.
Oh, Vance said they're here.
Yeah, they're coming. More's coming. Yeah, a lot are already here. Some are on their way, but their vote is retroactive. We'll get your vote knowing you're coming. So guess what? 28 million people that are getting about at least $1,000 a month each.
Oh,
guess what?
5,000.
Come on, man. That's right. That's your reparations right there.
That's the money right there.
That's the reparations right there.
And you know what's really crazy about? Let me see if I could pull this up. But before I do, I want to play this for you. And this is, he had the right idea.
And it's called Our Black Party.
Okay.
It's time for us to have our own black political party, unapologetically. Because right now, if you look at the debates, we're not even a part of the conversation.
Not at all.
We're not a part of the conversation. We don't have any political power.
Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
We don't have any political leverage. And so we started Our Black Party with some young, fearless black activists, elected officials, and I've stepped up and put the money behind it. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest threat and the only option that we have right now as far as making a change, taking our own self-responsibility and accountability.
What the hell just happened? Damn it. Hold on.
All that is just talk, man.
Now,
you know why? You know why that's just talk? He had enough money to actually do it.
Years ago.
In the 4 years, or how many years ago he said that, I'd like to know how much actual dollars did he put forth actually implementing that. That guy was just high running his mouth. He probably felt that way, but he put billions and millions of dollars just to bust a nut, really. Have these parties and just to bust a nut. He could have put, you know what I mean? So that just talk.
Now, I want to spit a bar. I want to spit a bar that Pusha T said, Saran wrap Vaseline so they can't sniff it. Do you remember that off that Lord Willin album? This whole thing, and you told me that, you know, you've been hearing a lot of these jokes with the baby oil and stuff like that. My thing is, I think the baby oil was used to wrap up drugs. You know, Vaseline and baby oil, that makes sense. I don't think you got 1,000 baby oils that there's pink cocaine. Man. Pink cocaine.
He had it on deck in case he wanted to have an orgy, just, you know, coming back from the club or something. Boom, he had it. Because he had, when it comes to drugs, he had the white boy, who was his mule, and then he had City Girl, Young Miami.
No. I'm saying, I think, this might shock you.
He wasn't pushing no drugs.
I think that there was a sex ring, and I think that there's some drugs on them private planes being flown from state to state.
There was drugs on the private plane, but you're never searched on the private plane unless it's what happened with that time when he'd already got charged, remember? And he went, or what, something happened, he tried to get on the private plane with the white boy. The feds already knew the script. The white boy's only here because he has drugs. So, all right, all y'all get on the private jet. You white boy, come here, let's holler at you real quick. You look kind of funny. Oh, you got drugs, come on. They already knew he had drugs. You're not, if me and you, if we got money, we're going on a private jet, they're not searching us. You know what I mean? They're not, unless they know already something's going on. So Diddy had them oils and all that shit for sex parties. He wanted it on deck. And guess what? That's evidence. If you saying I'm selling drugs and you come to my house and you find a scale, that's going to enhance your case.
What's up with this suicide watch? Now all of a sudden he's not on suicide watch.
They said he got a cellmate now. Some white boy that was doing the Bitcoin cryptocurrency scam.
Oh, so he got somebody in there smart.
Somebody you could talk to, probably another person stroking his ego, probably telling him, oh, you could get off of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Give me some money and I'll give you some pointers.
You told me, man, that he got some real major lawyers. Who are these guys?
He got New York's top. You know, Mark Garagos' daughter.
I heard one of them worked for something with the World Trade thing or something like that.
But here's the thing. You can have anybody you want. We live in a different era. I don't know if y'all notice that celebrities are not paying to get off of shit like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a different time, different era. Guess what? There ain't no more Johnny Cochran. These niggas, these rappers, these